Hello, Warren. Thank you for joining us today. Warren is one of the creators of the major open source project, Istio. He is also a co-founder of Silicon Valley startup Petri. So Warren, to first, can you introduce yourself and give us a little bit your background?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bobbing. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Varun, as Bobbing said, co-founder for Tetrate. Been running Tetrate for the last 5 years now. And prior to that, I was at Google for almost 12 years.
12 years, that's a long time.
That's a long time, yes. In different parts of Google. Started with maps and search, and then moved to YouTube, and then moved to cloud and infrastructure.
So you have been involved in so many important products of Google.
Yeah, lots of different ones. So the relevant one is the last stint, which was in Google Cloud. That's where I got into this whole microservices space. So, my first foray into microservices was actually through gRPC.
That's very important part of the microservice ecosystem. Everybody just using gRPC for the inter-service communication.
Yeah. So I was product manager for the gRPC team, and that's how I got into the microservices space. And we got it to 1.0 and donated that to CNCF. So that was a big milestone for that project. And I think now, as you said, it's widely used everywhere. Right. So after that, I think what I realized was that people who build new services, they were happy with gRPC. But all the existing services that people cannot rewrite. So that's when I started looking around for proxy-based answers. And that's how we eventually got to Istio. We'll talk more about that.
Well, that makes sense. So you start from a new service, but you found a problem, an issue with your existing service, and you want to unite these two together. So that's why we need a service mesh.
So that's the real problem, because majority services that people run are, existing services that they have written, right? So how do you modernize them and make them part of the cloud native ecosystem? And that's how I started looking for proxies. And there's story about how Istio came about is Lyft and Matt Klein. Matt Klein is one of the creators of Envoy. They were actually gRPC users. And that's how I was in connection with Matt. And then, about 6-7 months before formally launching Envoy, he told me about Envoy, that he's working on that.
So before you launched the project, actually you didn't think about it in a way.
Yeah, so we were just thinking about we needed to find a good proxy that that was open, that was supporting gRPC and all these protocols from the start, because I was having a really tough time getting Nginx to support like HTTP.
That's true.
It took, even after like 1.5 years, nothing happened there, right? So I was looking for proxies, and then open, powerful, dynamic, feature-rich, supports all these protocols. So Envoy fit the bill very well. And so
Envoy just came out at the right time, right place.
Exactly. So I brought Envoy into Google and said, hey, let's not build another proxy. Let's just take this one. Right?
No sense to make another proxy. Because already there.
Already there. And besides all the things I talked about, it already started to have an ecosystem. Right? So and it's very hard for Google to accept third-party software.
Why?
Because Google always likes to build everything.
Everybody by themselves. I understand. That's why Google, big company, want to do that.
Right. So, but I think eventually I could convince everybody that this is a better way to do it.
Or persuasive, I think.
And then people, so that is one side. The right about the same time, or 2014 is when I think Kubernetes had just launched, and we were sitting right next to the Kubernetes team.
Yeah.
Right, the early Kubernetes team, and so they were the ones who were giving us like some of the feedback from users, early feedback of Kubernetes, right? So I used to hear three things all the time from Kubernetes community and those people. One, we want to know how our services are doing, not how our CPU and memory of our nodes and pods is doing, right? So first tell us how our services are doing, right? So that was one problem that always used to come.
So Kubernetes just care about the computation, the network. They don't have the application level management.
It was more infrastructure monitoring, not application and services monitoring. So that was one. Second thing was, hey, we cannot do any of these L7 features with kubeproxy.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't do like traffic routing, request level load balancing, all of that. Right. So, and then the third one was around how can we encrypt traffic between services, right? It's hard. So almost for 1 year I heard these consistently coming from them.
Right? So that's why you got inspired to create Istio to solve all this problem.
Yeah. So I basically took what Envoy had and then added some pieces on top for control plane and Spiffy and some of those concepts, and then address those three needs, and then that's how Istio came.
So just different pieces of the world come together, become this project.
Yeah, but because it was solving like these key problems, I knew it will take off, it'll get popular, right? So the rest of it was just the marketing of Google behind it, right?
To persuade some people to accept this.
We got the whole ecosystem behind it, like IBM, Red Hat, Pivotal at that time, Cloud Foundry at that time. Like we got everybody involved to say like, you get behind this effort, and then after that we launched it in GlueCon in May of 2017. This was Istio 0.1.
Okay.
And
I think it's back in like 2018.
May of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
I remember that day. 23rd May 2017. I remember when we published the blog post, and I remember that we were all at GlueCon, and the introductory, like the launching talk of Istio was like, it was full, like people were waiting outside, like there was not enough room in that conference room. So that's how Istio came about. That's the start of it, and then of course from there it just took off.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to have someone who have two important roles. First, you are a co-founder of the startup based on Istio, and also you are playing very important role in the creation of Istio project. So, what motivated you to create this? To create this startup? So, what kind of challenge you want to address?
Yeah. So continuing the story, right? So as I talked to lots of users after Istio was launched, probably 50 to 100 companies at least, right? And everyone gave us, feedback that one, this is great, it's a great concept, but we want this to run, like we want these capabilities wherever we are running, and we want them outside Kubernetes as well.
So right. It's it's infrastructure, but we also need to operation where to manage that kind of infrastructure.
Right.
Someone need to
and people were very clear that if like this is, if it's just within Kubernetes, it's useful, but that's a very small part of our infrastructure.
Yeah, we also have virtual machines,
or lambdas, or just traditional Java apps of like running on just bare metal and stuff, right? So so that is one. Second, I think I saw that Google Cloud as a cloud provider was more inclined to tell people that come to Google and we'll run it as a service, right?
Yeah.
So in all those conversations, like people were like, Google would always respond with like, yeah, if you come to Google, we will
solve this problem for you.
Don't worry about it. Like, we will run it as a service. You will see
our managed service, you don't care about Istio, you just care about what we problem for you.
So, and you could, and that there's a reason, right? Because cloud providers make money out of compute, storage, networking, and for them, all these services on top are just gravy for attracting people, so they can make money there, right? So the economics work that way. This was something that customers needed uniformly across their different clouds and infrastructure, right? So they wanted the same experience on AWS, on Azure, on GCP, on Red Hat, on Rancher, no matter what it is, on VMware, right? So I want to have a similar experience of how my services talk to each other, how I monitor them, how I secure them, like how my developers access one service to the other. It should be a consistent way I do it in a company. Why is it like I have to teach like 10 different things on 10 different platforms, right? So I think that it was clear from there that there is a need for some third party company to have a platform which is not tied to any of the cloud providers or a PaaS provider like Red Hat or a Rancher or IBM or something, right? So I think that was the kernel. After that, it was just finding the luck of finding all the right people in the community, finding JJ, who's my co-founder, and like aligning of the minds there. Those things take time, and but once that happens, and very rarely in your career you land on something where like you did something in your job, it is new technology, very promising, the market, the people, the community.
So that's a natural thing to just start.
It's a start, right?
Create a startup.
So
you already knew everything.
You knew everything.
Met people.
So everything was known. So it was like, if not now, then when?
Sure.
It was a very perfectly set up situation.
That's a very large step for you to.
And I was in Silicon Valley, so like this investors started to knock at the doors.
So they urge you to create this.
So even before we started, like after launch of Istio, they started coming into Google and like, hey, you want to leave and we'll fund you and we'll fund you, whatever.
That's an interesting story.
So
we have this amazing T-Tree startup and have some promising products. So how has the adoption of your sales match product been in the market? And do you have any success story or case study when you can share with us?
Yeah, it's been 5 years. There's lots of case studies now. So people are, lots of companies have found a lot of success in encryption of all the easiest and cheapest way to get encryption done. And
so the security and encryption is the most significant use case.
It's the the most widely used use case and the biggest like thing that people ask for and the biggest value they get, because it's very hard to do other like using libraries or using other ways.
It's a disaster, if you have sound like ports, you want to do the certificate, you want to rotate it, it's a disaster.
Certificate management, certificate rotation with like dynamic containers going up and down and all that. So it's and that is becoming very, very important. The more we are doing microservices, the more we are doing distributed applications. It's becoming more important because traffic's going out into different, crossing the network boundary, right?
Yeah, there is no way we can accomplish this manually. We gotta have some system like Istio.
Yeah, so I think that's so many companies have found like value there. That's like probably the number one. I think Ingress is another, like just from our enterprise platforms, like people have found this to be our enterprise platform is a lot more than just Istio.
So can you share us what's like your product? It's just like
so we have our product portfolio is in like progression, right? So if you are just coming in for Mesh and Istio, we have an Istio distribution with FIPS builds and ARM builds and longer support and all that. So that's an Istio distribution business. Similarly, you're involved in Envoy Gateway. We are doing the same approach in Envoy Gateway, right? So it's getting there. So just today, yesterday, we announced the Tetrate Enterprise Envoy Gateway, which is basically the same concept but applied to Envoy Gateway. So you want just a front gateway, then and you want a support and distribution of Envoy Gateway, then you can do that. So that's one side of the business. The other side is the full enterprise platform, which is like, what if you have lots of clusters, lots of teams, lots of business units, like large banks, large insurance companies, and then you want to manage all this centrally, like what the vision was, right? Like if it's AWS, Azure, VMware, whatever it is, right? I can bring all this infrastructure, I can onboard to some platform, and every application team can do what they need to do. Platform team can manage all the fleet of Istios and Envoys and gateways, and security gets visibility, operations can do the operations part. So it's a big effort for a company to like get this in and get this operationalized. So we've had multiple large financial institutions and defense companies and SaaS companies go through this. And one of the biggest things, like one of the other biggest ones, I say Ingress is because what I'm saying is that with Kubernetes and all, people are developing, with microservices, people are developing microservices faster. With Kubernetes, they are deploying faster. The last step in agility is can you give it access to people faster, right? People could be your team, could be end user, could be partner, whatever. And that is the place where the bottleneck is, right? Because it's not secure to give it. How do I give it? Because so Ingress is, for example, the only way I expose is through opening filing a ticket on the front F5 load balancer and letting people come in. And F5 is not aware of any of your Kubernetes services or the new deployments, right? It doesn't know anything about that. So you make these changes, but now you have to file a ticket to the F5 team, which is a networking team sitting somewhere.
So it's like a bottleneck for all this whole system.
So that starts to become a bottleneck. So I think we have seen a lot of companies introduce like a better ingress for these container applications, and then they can just remove that last bottleneck
Yeah.
Because we have an edge gateway which is like aware of all the services, and you can just it's automatic.
Yeah. So the last important part is the ingress controller. That's why TG.
That's why, yeah. That's why, because we saw that with so many banks, we said, okay, this needs to be done properly with the standardized gateway API in the open, which is why on my gateway and TEG. So I think those are some big ones. But of course, our website has so many of the.
Yeah, you can always go to our website to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Our product family. So last question. So you are the co-founder of the startup, and you are in this amazing journey of the open source project. So, I mean, what's the most challenging part for you? I mean, in this journey, and what's the most rewarding aspect in this journey for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So challenging part is just the daily up and down of running a company.
Oh, get it. Because Tetri is a fully distributed company.
Yeah.
So I guess that part is challenging because you have to coordinate so many people, different effort across the company. So that will take a lot of effort and energy.
I think, but there are benefits of a remote company. You somebody sitting in China, you can join, right?
Yeah.
And we have so many other people in China as well. But I mean, it wasn't it was a choice by design, right? To get in today's time, especially in open source world, I think talent is everywhere. There's so much talent in China. There's so much talent in all parts of the world.
Yeah.
So, if you want to get the best talent, you
must be
distributed, right? It has to be a distributed company, right?
That's true.
So, but there is a management overhead of that.
Yeah, but for the management, it's like a difficult thing.
It's a difficult, yeah. So everyone.
So how do you handle this?
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. So many tips and tricks there, and so many that we also need to learn. But just how you do all the daily communications, active use of Slack, everything being written. There's so much that happens there. I think that's one big challenge of but I think that also I've gotten okay with. It's just the one startup itself is dynamic. You go through a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
The other part is you are a startup in cloud native, which is very rapidly changing.
Yeah. So it's a very fast changing area.
It's a very fast changing environment. So every day there is new stuff happening here, new stuff happening there. Right?
So there always something interesting and exciting come in.
Yeah. So there's no dull day. That's good as well as was challenging. Yeah. The rewarding part is to see people come in and do good work and be happy with the work they have done, right? So I would like Tetrate to be the place where people remember as they did their best work of their career here.
I enjoyed this experience. I joined Tetrate 6 months ago.
6 months.
To be honest, before I'm a little bit worried because it's my first time working remotely, but everyone was so nice to me, and I'm very happy I can contribute my own part to this company to make it successful.
Yeah, so that part is rewarding.
Yeah, that part rewarding.
That part is rewarding. So seeing people come in and do their good work and be happy with it and grow, I think that's very rewarding.
Okay, Varun, thank you for sharing all this valuable perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.